So I've been no contact with my mother for over 4 years, and last week I reached out to her. I'm going to read you what I wrote to her, and I'm going to tell you what her response is. And I'm curious to see if you think that she is attempting to build that bridge with me or not. So this is the email that I sent her, verbatim. Hi, Mom. I wanted to reach out and say hello. I heard that you've been mostly retired and are only working 1 day a week now. Congratulations. I hope that you and stepdad and the pets are all doing well. I know it's been a long time since we've had contact. Lately, I've been thinking about reconnecting, and it felt like the right time to reach out. I'm not looking to dive into everything all at once, but I'd be open to starting small and seeing what it might look like for us to be in communication again. There is no pressure. I just wanted to reach out. If you are open to that, I would be glad to hear from you. If you are, I would prefer to keep things to email for now. I think that would give both of us the space to think and respond in a way that feels comfortable. Now, it took her a week to respond, which I am fine with. I'm not going to read her words verbatim because I don't feel that it is respectful for me to put her words all over the internet, but I will tell you the gist of her response, which is that she was surprised to hear from me, that she doesn't know if she can take more rejection from myself and my children. My children are both grown adults, by the way, that she had come to the acceptance that she had lost her family, and that I had made it very clear that if she didn't change and did not come to therapy with me, that I wanted nothing to do with her. I'm going to get back to that because that's inaccurate. And that she agreed with the things that I said, she said and did, and that she apologized, but that was not enough for me. And that she's sure that us not being in connection has made my life much less stressful, but that she is who she is and she is not going to be changing any more than she already has, and that she will still say things that I will struggle with, and that I need to decide if I can handle having a relationship with her exactly as she is, and that she cannot go through the pain again. The pain's mentioned multiple times. And that she agrees there can be no heavy discussions, but that we will have to have those heavy discussions at some point in time, and that she wants to make sure we're both prepared to handle that, and that I might find it hard to believe, but that she does love and care about all of us. I'm struggling with how or if to respond to this. I mean, I feel like it's only polite to respond, but I'm struggling with how, because the way I see it, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, I started to try to build a bridge. She immediately responded and made it all about her pain. It feels like she's trying to light the bridge on fire before she even lays aboard. And the comment she said about the therapy is absolutely incorrect. And this is why I think so many adult children struggle, because that is not an accurate accounting of what happened. She asked to come with me to therapy. She's the one that suggested it. Multiple times. My therapist agreed to see the two of us, even though that is not what she signed up for. But she said she would be happy to try because it would help if it would help me. So she met with us 3 times. And after the 3rd meeting is when my therapist said that she was no longer comfortable continuing with both of us in therapy because she did not feel that we were going to be able to move in a positive direction because of the things that my mother said during therapy. There were multiple times my therapist's jaw hit the table. The biggest one is when my mother made it very clear, in very plain words, that she cared more about the opinion of the people in the community, how they saw her, than she did how I saw her. That is not an exaggeration. That is exactly what she said. So it was my therapist that was like, this is not going to be healthy. There's no way to continue forward in this with the way your mother is responding. And I will make it also very clear, at no point did my therapist ever suggest going no contact. And then the final straw between the two of us was when, because I continued to try to have a relationship with her, and at the end of that year, because the therapy sessions were in the summer, and at the end of that year, she wanted nothing to do with us for the holidays. My house was too dirty for her, which it's not the cleanest. My desk is terrible. It's not the cleanest house in the world, but it's also like not a disaster area. I offered to have the whole house deep cleaned. That was not enough for her. I offered to go to her place. She did not want to disturb my stepfather, which has been my stepfather and in my life since I was in 3rd grade. And he does have other children who are more than welcome at the house, but apparently I was not. It would be disturbing them. So that is the reason that I finally went no contact, because she made it very clear that we were not a priority to her. So now I'm trying to decide how I want to respond. And I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about this. Do you think that, and again, I want to also acknowledge I hear her pain in this, and I hear her fear, but there's fear on this end too. And I'm curious, if you are an estranged adult child, how you would respond. And if you are the parent of estranged adult children, is this how you would respond to your child if your child reached out?
Basically, mom says the door is open, but I am still the same person that you walked away from. You must accept me as I am. I am done with the drama and I will not be walking around on eggshells. Take it or leave it. It's horrible if a child declined contact with you for years, especially if you apologize for whatever happened. It's more painful if you are a mother. At a point, you just shut down as in you don't want to go through the sadness again. She should leave the old lady alone. You reach out, she responds, and you pick apart her response and immediately start ranting about how wrong she is. Leave her alone.
Would you mind sharing why you went no contact if it's not too painful? Yeah, I mean, I feel like I owe that to the people that have seen all these videos now. So let me start by saying I was never physically harmed by my mother. I know there's a lot of people that have very strong opinions that unless you're physically harmed, you should just get over it, or that it's no reason to go no contact. But emotional and mental harm can be just as damaging to a child as physical harm. Any sort of abuse is not okay. And that is what I experienced primarily. Nothing was ever good enough. I was never thin enough. I was never smart enough. I was never pretty enough. I didn't try hard enough. And this is not a every once in a while thing. This was a daily thing. I would get berated for the silliest of things. One time, I think I was like 14 and it was summer break, and my mother came inside the house and was like, "Why do you have a blanket on?" and went off on me on the fact that I had a blanket on and it was 90 degrees outside. Like making me feel bad for having a blanket on. And it wasn't out of concern. It wasn't, "Are you okay? Like, you've got a blanket." Like if I saw my kids and I'm like, "Are you all right?" "No, I'm just comfy." "Okay." That's not how it went. Didn't clean the house right, didn't make the right decisions. And what's funny is looking back as an objective adult who has raised two children, I was an easy child. I was a rule follower. I never got in trouble. I never tried illegal substances. I did my best in school. I now know I have ADHD, which explains why some of the grades were a little bit lower, like I struggled in math, because math sucks. And I would constantly get hammered about the fact that my grades were not where they should be. I was not trying hard enough. Nothing I did was ever good enough and would ever meet the expectations that she set for me. And I tried to please that woman. I've had to break myself of being a people pleaser, and it's still something I struggle with. I remember one specific situation after my grandmother passed away. My grandmother was more like my mother. She helped my mother, raised me. My mother has agreed that my grandmother had more of a motherly presence with me. And my grandmother had just passed away, and my younger cousin told her parents that I had stolen a necklace off of my grandmother's bureau, that I had taken it and put it in my pocket and made a comment about how I was taking it. The necklace that she described is one that I've had since I was 7. When my great-grandmother passed away, I was told that I could pick 2 pieces of jewelry off of her vanity. I picked a little costume jewelry because it was in a heart container, and then I picked this container that was like a scallop container. And what's inside it is actually, and I still have it and cherish it, a floating opal necklace. And that's the piece of jewelry she said that I stole. And my mother knew that I did not steal that. She confirmed to me that it was ridiculous and that I did not steal it. But she never defended me. She never went to them and was like, "Dude, your daughter is lying. Randy has had this since she was 7. Never did she do that. If that broke me a little. The fact that not only was I not good enough for her, I was not good enough to defend even when she knew for a fact I hadn't done anything wrong. I had wanted to speak at my grandmother's funeral Everybody was against it, except for my cousin, one of my other cousins. My mother was against it. And my other cousin supported it and was like, she has the right to speak. I would go to my aunt's a lot, and she would get very angry at how my mom spoke to me, how she treated me like I couldn't match what she wanted. Physically, mentally. I've had major depressive disorder my entire life. It's actually a family thing. We have had family members commit unaliving and suicide at the same time. So 2 family members, actually. My grandmother's siblings did that to their significant others. So it is a serious concern in my family, and it was dismissed by my mom. I was just making too much of a deal. I remember one other thing, just to give you an example. I think I was 15. And we were at my grandmother's house, and we were backing out, and I had just learned how to drive and was still learning. And I was in the passenger seat. And I remember saying to my mom, "Mom, be careful. I think you're going to hit the corner of the porch." And she went off on me. "I've been driving longer than you've been alive. What do you think you know?" Blah, 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 blah. That type of situation. And then she ends up hitting the porch. And if I would have said anything about that, oof, I would have been destroyed. I have 3 stepsisters from my stepfather who are all older than me. There was a different set of rules for them than for me. For example, I was told I could not call the house after 9 p.m. at any point. And yet if they called at midnight, my stepdad was ecstatic. I was also told that the entire reason we don't have get-togethers with my stepsisters is because of me, because I talk too much. And I remember that was near the end of our relationship, and I remember being very upset. So upset that when I left the house, I had to take a walk because I couldn't drive. Because once again, everything was being blamed on me, when that's not accurate. I know why they didn't have get-togethers, because my mother couldn't stand his kids. She made it very clear. Yet I was being blamed for it because it was easier for him, I guess, than putting the attention where it was supposed to go. And another of my cousins lived up the road, and she ended up calming me down, and she walked me back. She refused to let me walk back into that situation. And I remember my mother coming down the stairs and saying that my stepfather should not have said that, acknowledging that he should not have said that. It's one of the few times she actually gave me a hug. But she didn't fix it. She didn't defend me. She didn't. My husband and I have been in marriage therapy for a bit, which has been amazing. And this tells you a lot. My therapist said, "I want you to imagine little you. What are you doing?" That was the only prompt. And it was, I'm sitting on a bed, and I lost it. I'm sitting on a bed, crying and waiting for someone to come. And so I did a lot of work with her on inner child healing, on visualizing big me sitting next to little me and being there for her, because nobody was. My grandmother was, but there was only so much she could do. She respected that my mother was my mother, and she tried not to cross any boundaries that she shouldn't cross. So no, I was not physically, cigarettes were not put out on me, But there was no love in that house. There was no support in that house. To this day, I struggle so much with so many things. My husband's a saint for dealing with it for 26 years. And I will continue to work on it. And I probably will my entire life, especially my physical appearance, because that was a very big deal to her. So I tried to make it work. She wanted to go to therapy. The therapist is the one that was like, this is not working. And then the final straw was when it was the holidays. And I was like, hey, how are we doing the holidays? Are you coming up here again? Because they used to come up here. She's like, your house is not clean enough. I was like, I will have it deep cleaned. She's like, I don't want you to do that. I said, we can come to your place. She's like, well, I don't want to disturb your stepdad. And I only get a day off. I want peace and quiet. She didn't suggest doing it another day. There was no plans to spend any of the holiday with her only child and her only grandchildren. So this got a little longer than expected, but that's kind of the basis of it.
You are setting a physical boundary, email only. She's setting an emotional boundary. Accept me as I am. It's a boundary. You don't get to decide what her boundaries are. She may just be done with all these lectures. I've watched two and I'm definitely done. She said, I have not changed and will not change in order to have a relationship with you. I do not want to be hurt again. I will not have a relationship with you unless you can accept me as I am. That is a boundary. Personally, I think your mom is okay. Leave her alone. You made your choice.
Yeah, I'm on mom's side. She's setting her own boundaries, and she can do that, especially after you chose to go no contact. There's a lot of comments about the fact that my mother is setting boundaries, and I think there is a giant misunderstanding on what setting boundaries are. Let's have this conversation, because I fully think that everybody should set boundaries. I think it's important to your mental health and your well-being to have boundaries. What she responded was not boundary setting. Boundary setting, think of it like a line, literal line in the sand. You're saying, this is all I can tolerate. So for example, my boundary is I would prefer to keep things via email at this time. And if that person that I say that boundary to decides to call me, they have then stepped over that boundary. And then I have to decide how I want to handle this. I've made it very clear that this is all I am able to accept. This is what I can do to keep myself safe. That is not what her response was. Her response was her expressing her pain, which she's totally entitled to do and to feel. But it was also saying, you need to figure this out so I don't get hurt again. That is not a boundary. Her saying, you have to accept me as I am or don't even try, is not a boundary. It's putting the weight on me to change and to adjust. Because here's the thing, everybody should be accepted for who they are. But that doesn't mean you have to be okay with the behavior they display towards you. So I do want her to set boundaries. But the response she sent was not setting boundaries. Let's make sure that's very clear here. Wow. Okay. Did not expect the video that I posted about reaching out to my mother after 4 years of being no contact to have over 500,000 freaking views and the corresponding response videos to have thousands upon thousands of views. That was not expected. I usually get under 1,000 views on no contact videos. So that was a shock, but I've learned some valuable lessons from it. The first one being that the people that condemn me for going no contact in the first place are the same ones in the comment saying, Team Mom, go Mom, why did you disturb her peace? It's good that you're not in her life anymore. Wow, how horrible of her to have a daughter like you. So I'm condemned for going no contact, and I'm condemned for trying to build a bridge and reconnect with my mother. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. One of the reasons that I did eventually reach out had to do with TikTok and with the estranged parent TikToks. I get a lot of estranged parent TikToks. Some of them are ridiculous, but there are a lot of them that you can see the pain these people have. You can see their genuine desire to want to reconnect with their child. And that percolated for a very, very long time. And I eventually realized that I was in a stronger place, that I could attempt, to reconnect, and that it was the respectful, responsible thing to do, as all of the frickin' moms that are no contact keep saying to do. They literally keep saying, this is what you need to do. You need to be uncomfortable. You need to put yourself in a position. You need to talk. I go and do that, and I'm condemned for doing it. So make up my mind. What here? I absolutely will confess to crashing out when somebody suggested, and apparently there was a few that did, that the only reason I tried to reconnect with my mother had to do with inheritance. I crashed out because that, to me, questions my integrity. And my integrity is very important to me. I believe myself to be a very ethical person. And it was very angering to me that people thought that that was why I reached out, that I'm that selfish of a person, that I reached out only for my benefit. And that's not the case. And I've also learned that people like to fill in the blanks with their own experiences because there's a lot of assumptions being made. And you don't have the 46 years of experience that I've got. You don't know the whole story. That was the other thing. People being upset that I did not read my mother's words verbatim. Look, I went to college originally for journalism and language. Words are important and sacred. I did not want to share her exact words because I did not have her permission. And then I got a bunch of people on there saying, well, you didn't have her permission to share the story either. I shared my experiences. I shared things that I was involved in. I am not going to share her specific words because to me that is not ethical and that is not responsible. I can, however, share my story, and she is involved in my story. If you notice, I never sit there and say, this is what she thinks, this is what she does, da 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 da. No, I share the experiences that I've had with the entire situation. So yeah, that was a rough night. Oh, that was the other thing. People commenting and saying, ha ha ha, you're not getting what you expected in these comments, and being gleefully happy that I was being bashed so hard. And it breaks my heart because that means that kindness really has fallen by the wayside. There were a number of people who did comment respectfully and leading with kindness. And I appreciated that. And their opinions were very different. Their opinions were very similar to the ones that were like, go team mom. They were like, she has the right to do this, and I can see where your pain is, but I see where her pain is. And I was very grateful for those. But there are so many people that thought it was totally fine to bash me as much as they could without knowing the full story. You don't know what happened. You don't know if I was physically abused. You don't know if I was emotionally, mentally, financially. You don't know. All you had to base on was the email that I sent her and my overview of her response. And people filled in the blanks, I'm guessing with their own experiences. Do I regret making that post? No, because I try not to regret things in life. Because if you regret things in life, what's the point? To me, regret is kind of one of the more useless emotions. Because you can feel sad that you made decisions that didn't have the outcome that you hoped it would have. And please know, I did not expect any specific outcome from this situation. But I view them more as learning experiences. And you can't regret learning something. I always told my kids, you can even learn from a bad teacher. You can learn from a great teacher, but you can learn just as much, sometimes if not more, from a bad teacher. So I try to focus on learning and growing. So I'm probably not going to respond to many or any of the comments that are being left. I might peruse and see if there's a few, but I appreciate those who led with kindness. I would invite everybody to do the same, and lessons learned.
You are really missing the point in people's comments. Reaching out when you are ready is a good thing, but your mom's response was also very real and valid. You cannot just reach out when you feel like it and expect the person to be ready and willing to welcome you back. Nobody is condemning you for going no contact. People want you to leave her alone because that lady is not bothering you. She respects your no contact. Leave her alone. I was really trying to see your side of things. until you said you try not to regret things in life because what's the point? The point is self-reflection. People who say they don't regret things from their past lack self-awareness. They refuse to reflect on how their actions affected others. It's nearly impossible to live 40 plus years and not have a regret. Instead of trying not have them, maybe try learning and growing from them. Girl, you're not getting it. People are responding to your initial question about what we thought about your mom's response. You are not being criticized for reaching out. It's wonderful that you did. People are siding with your mom's response according to the information you gave us and suggesting that your mom is probably not ready for what you are willing to give to the relationship. Tell me your thoughts in the comment sections. Those are my thoughts, personally. Tell me your thoughts.